Welcome to Tax Insights, presented by Hawkins Ash CPAs.
And good morning, listeners. This is Tax Insight brought to you by Hawkins Ash CPAs. We got Jeff back with us once again. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Terry.
How are you, sir?
Doing well.
Today, we're talking about the third round of the recovery rebates.
Yep, because, Terry, we're recording this on Tuesday, March 9th because of kind of how our schedules worked. But at this point, the Senate has passed what's called the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And like you mentioned, it includes a new round, a third round of direct stimulus payments to individuals.
So the biggest question that I know every listener out there is just dying to know, when will people actually get their payments?
All right, I get it, but let's not put the cart before the horse. The legislation still needs to be passed by the House, which we're expecting will be done, and then signed by the President. Both of those things really do seem likely at this point. And if we use history as our guide, looking at the last two stimulus checks, the first stimulus check came out within about 2 weeks of signing of the bill, but the second one came out within days. So I would think by the end of the month, people should either have their checks or start receiving their checks.
All right. So I know that we've been talking about $1,400. Is this still the case for this right now?
I think so. That still appears to be the number. Unlike the first and second round, this payment, though, is going to be able to go to adults, children, and adult children, like college students, as long as they're still dependents on their parents' returns. And the payments will also go to other adult dependents, many of which we talked about on last week's show. Shameless plug, Terry, go to our website, hawkinsashcpas.com or Apple Podcasts, if you missed that show last week, to figure out who can be dependents on your return.
Absolutely. So doing the math, a couple, let's say, with 2 kids, they can get $5,600. Is that correct?
That is right, as long as they meet the income requirements.
So let's talk about the income requirements. These are different, right, than the other 2 rounds that we had?
They are. So from a single point of view, it's the phase out when you start to lose getting that payment starts at $75,000, which is the same as it was before, but it's totally gone by $80,000, which is a much shorter period than the last 2 stimulus checks. And if you're head of household, that phase out starts at about $112,000, and if you're a married couple, the phase out starts from $150,000 and you lose it by $160,000. Just by making this one change, it looks like there's probably going to be somewhere between 16 and 18 million people that receive the first 2 rounds that will not receive this third round.
Interesting. So that is definitely lower than the other 2 rounds, right?
Right. Yeah, because those other rounds had a much longer phase-out range, which brings me to a planning point. You may not want to file your tax return right away. So just like the first stimulus bill, the payment is going to be based off of your current year tax return, 2020 in this case, or if you haven't filed your 2020 return, it'll be based off of your 2019 return.
Interesting. So if you already filed, you may have just shot yourself in the foot.
Maybe.
Interesting. So what is the reason to wait more?
So let's use, for example, a married couple. I mentioned earlier that the third round phases out at $160,000 of adjusted gross income. If you expect your 2020 income to be higher than that 160, but your 2019 income was below that amount, then you're better off waiting because you're going to get the stimulus check.
Interesting. So this also works the opposite way, right?
It does. So if your 2020 income is below $160,000 and your 2019 income was above it, then what you want to do is you want to get that 2020 return filed right away. Because if you get it filed right away, then there's a chance that you're going to get the stimulus payment based off of your 2020 income. But if you don't file it before the payments come out, you're still going to get another chance to get that payment once your 2021 return is filed, but that won't be until April of next year.
Jeff, a lot of great information each and every week here on Tax Insight. Time is running up here. For those listeners that want to connect with you and your team, what is the best way of doing that?
I would go to our website, HawkinsAshCPAs.com.
Thank you, Jeff, for your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
This has been Tax Insights, presented by Hawkins Ash CPAs. Learn more online at HawkinsAshCPAs.com. Hawkins Ash CPAs. Part of your business, part of your life.